Good afternoon. I'm Marta Miana, President of UNLV. I thank you all for joining us today for this artistic memorial to 1 October. Exactly 1 year ago, there is no way to finish that sentence that does not leave too much unsaid, which is why today we let music, dance, and poetry express our loss, our grief, our disbelief, our anger, our pain, our love, our connection, and the beginnings of a healing process that will never be complete. Only art can encompass all of that.
On behalf of all of us in attendance here tonight, I would like to offer my deepest thanks to President Miana and Vice Dean Clark for organizing such a moving ceremony on such a solemn occasion. Our presence here together feels a bright spot on a dark sea, and I'm humbled to be a part of these proceedings. There's a moment near the end of Arnold Schoenberg's unfinished operatic masterpiece, Moses and Eryn, where the composer realizes that one of the most profound gifts language gives us can be found in its failure. That while such a comfort and so often a source of illumination in some of our most intense moments of love, rupture, rapture, grief, finally, words can't do the things they're called upon to do. As President Miana so wisely pointed out earlier, there are times when we simply don't have the words. However, as Schoenberg's character drops to his knees and utters the now famous lamentation, "Word, oh word that I lack," I've never felt his expression to be one merely of sorrow. It's also a moment of awe, and therefore a moment of hope. On a day like today, it strikes me that words can serve to point us to wonder as well as to inarticulable grief. By getting us right up to the edge of what we cannot say, they do us a great service. They bring us to the precipice of inexpressibility, of impossibility, and then they urge us onward. It is in such a spirit that I've written this poem for this occasion, entitled 58 Bells. There are 2 epigraphs to the poem. The first is by the poet Jack Spicer, and the second by Henry David Thoreau. Trees in their youth look younger than almost anything. I mean, in the spring, when they put forth green leaves and try to look like real trees. Honest to God, my heart aches when I see them trying. And Thoreau says, "The light which puts out our eyes is darkness to us. Only that day dawns to which we are awake. There is more day to dawn. The sun is but a morning star." 58 Bells. Within the contours of glass, of lives undone, questions alone that live on. How do we begin, and where? Let's say the desert. Let's say the heart. Let's say the heft of bodies after they can't hold themselves up any longer, exhausted. Let's say the words fail to say and sound, a bell for memory. A bell because there is no memorial worthy, not really. There's only us and the sun. When Thoreau's sister died at her funeral, he opened a music box to the crowd and walked outside, and so her music reaches on. A bell for what humility can teach us. A bell because I know you tried. A bell transmuted through air as we finally all are stars. A bell in the wind saying your name, and then another name, and another, and another, and then sleep. A bell for the tower, a bell for the reach. A bell rang out over and over under each streetlight, neon, as speakers burst out, unknown notes in our chest. A bell we've lost count of, a bell we call breath. A bell to remind my students to hold the door a little longer, look each other in the eyes. A bell to signify the power of tiny gestures, how much they might matter. A bell named Siren, the song and the sound we can't stop but to weep. A bell for the words that no matter just won't do. A bell for the sobbing, the stuck sounds we still make. A bell I wish that I could forge and then cast and ring for every and each single one of you. A bell for our mistakes. A bell to give it all up, all that isn't decency. A bell to recuse by its virtue everything that isn't gentleness, harmony, startling us back to our senses, humanity. A bell for God help me. A bell like a token, a talisman, a totem. A bell that should never be used. A bell because beauty. Because we woke up again, albeit in pain. A bell for all grace. A bell for the red rocks, then the white rocks, a bell for the way. The iron that gives them its name is the element we mourn here today. A bell we don't need to remind us that the body is holy, and body after body, so many bells the same. A bell because I don't know what to say. Shattering truth remains. I couldn't move when I heard the news. A bell sounded in my head every minute 1 year ago. A bell for the fracture. A bell for the bruise. A bell for the ones we ignore. Please don't. For everyone loved and lost, a new bell we get to choose. A bell for a colossus felled as a city onlooked. A bell for the water, the depth that it took. A bell, alone in a field, a bell that stays shook. Can we write down a life? How could we? And why? Who should? Tonight, the nuclear sun will set, but not everyone will look. So the bell is a fugue, a sense of matter in the air. A bell is a figure. A bell is a book. A bell for the resonance, the real music of this evening. For every minute we don't recognize that we move through this room as one, a bell for the lucky who do see the stuff we're made of, strong, but not too. A bell for the improbability of music in the country. How many bells must that be? Can you count them? Mustn't we, of needs? Do you know there's never been a bell rung twice? In the aftermath, the tone shifts imperceptibly. Each ring lets go of something. Each sounding changes the scene. A bell mutated of loss. A bell because there is no bell unchanged. A bell to move us, alert everyone. A bell because all beauty, though tattered, stays true. The way we won't look one another in the eye the same way we used to. A bell for the commons, a bell for the ground, a bell for the broken and all the pieces we can't rend from the earth, pieces we found. A bell for the earth, a bell for no one, because, as Keats said, to such music we've become a sod, a bell for the band, our mothers, fathers, daughters, and sons. Let's call it a song. Let's say we stand together. For what can we make of our loss but resounding and redemption and for so long a paradise? What bell can we find to make up for even one voice, 1 second of one voice, a bell for no bells at all? A bell for every prayer that won't ring out again. A bell for the bleeding, the holding, beginning. A bell for this morning. I woke up and remembered something, a harmony at remove. I opened my eyes and looked at you. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you to the faculty, staff, and students who gave their heart and soul to this commemoration. They will now grace us with one more number to bid you farewell, to bid you to go forth in love and kindness.
I'm gonna lay down my burdens down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Go